I'm going to give the stage to Michael. So he's going to talk a bit more about the AJP, their policies, and what you can do to help. It would be really appreciated if you guys can check into this event, share it on social media, and just bring more awareness to the campaign. And also about this venue, they've been so gracious to give us a free room. So if you guys don't mind just buying a drink or buying some food, so at least you can come back again and stuff like that. Okay, so Michael.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. First I'd like to acknowledge the custodians of this land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation and their elders past and present. I'd also like to pay my respects to elders past and present of the Eora Nation, and I extend that respect to any other Indigenous people who are present. It's my pleasure to welcome you all here tonight to the Animal Justice Party campaign launch for the Australian Federal Election 2019. Thanks for coming. My name is Michael Della Jacopo. I'm the second AJP candidate for the Senate for New South Wales. We're here today because we're running 15 candidates in the federal election across the upper and lower house, some of whom you'll hear from tonight. So I think what we'll do is we'll have the candidates introduce themselves now and tell us a little bit about themselves and their journey and their campaign. And then I want to talk a little bit about our history, the party's history, how we got here and our plans if elected. And we'll go from there. So I'll introduce you to Gay first. Thanks, Gay.
Okay, I actually had a different sort of speech.
Oh, whatever works, yeah.
But I'll do that later. My name's Gay Constable and I'm the candidate for Hughes, which is from like Holsworthy, Grace Point and down to Sutherland. And I'm just very happy to be a candidate because I think the Animal Justice Party is an amazing party to be involved with. And I do have another little thing which I'll say later about volunteers. So I'll pass on to Rohan.
Hi everyone, so my name's Rohan. I'm the candidate for the Reid electorate. So Reid is sort of centred around Strathfield, so from west to east you're looking at Silverwater to Drummoyne. From north to south you're looking at Rhodes, Wentworth, Point down to South Strathfield. I won't bore you with our policies, but I definitely think that our party has I truly believe our party has the best policies for human health and well-being, the environment and animals. My goal for this election is obviously to raise awareness for those particular areas, which I think are very important. Ideally, I'd like to get 4% of the primary vote, so that expenses for our electorate are reimbursed. I'd also like to contribute to the upper house vote as well, in the hope that we can get Angela Pollard, who's a very strong candidate, into Parliament, but hopefully getting someone like Michael into Parliament as well, if not this election, in the next election. What I do want to say, and I'm sure Gabe will touch on this later on, I can't stress how important it is to get volunteers out there. This election only comes around every few years, so it's only one day out of 1,000 days that we need to make a sacrifice to try and get votes. I stood as a candidate for the Granville electorate in the state election, and every booth that had volunteers was able to achieve double-digit votes. So we really need to get every booth with volunteers, and we need to get at least double-digit votes. So I don't know if you yourself are in a position to volunteer. If not, that's fine. Try and get your friends and family involved. It's really, really important. Thanks.
I guess I'll introduce myself as well. So, as I said, my name's Michael. My day job is a PhD candidate in space science. But I've taken time off in the last few months to work on all things AJP. So I ran as a candidate in the state election for the electorate of Heffron, and now I'm running for the Senate. I have a background in the non-profit sector, and I've worked with several international development organisations. I'm also a trained climate scientist, and I've worked with several grassroots climate action groups. And I've been involved in animal advocacy for the last 4 years. And I really feel a deep sense of duty to use the talents and the experience that I'm lucky enough to have to try and make the world better for everyone, especially the animals who are so neglected in the political space. A little over 9 months ago, I was a member of the AJP but was otherwise uninvolved. I was interested in politics as an observer but wasn't really aware how political advocacy and campaigning actually worked. And then in October I put my hand up to be a paper candidate for the state election. But then something happened. I started to discover just how neglected and effective an opportunity it is to be involved in political advocacy and to speak out for animals and to talk about an issue that's just so neglected but that we can make a big difference in. I've been continuously surprised by just how many opportunities there are to help animals through political advocacy, if only you look. And I tell you this to encourage you to get involved as well, so I want to echo Rohan's words. And even if you think you know nothing about politics, that's okay. Neither did I really until 9 months ago. And I've learned quickly, but mostly because I've been surrounded by some amazing people in the party who have, have a lot of experience, but we're all just ordinary people trying to make a difference for animals, and we learn as we go, and that's just how it is. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the Animal Justice Party. So we haven't been around for very long. We officially formed in 2011, and we've come a long way since then. So in 2015, Mark Pearson was elected to the New South Wales Upper House. He was the first person in Australia to be elected on an animal justice platform, animal protection platform. And then last year we had Andy Meddick elected in the Victorian election, and just a few weeks ago we had Emma Hurst elected. The New South Wales Upper House, who I believe was she sworn in today or yesterday? Yesterday. So yeah, she's now in New South Wales Parliament as well, working hard to make things better for animals. So that's 3 members elected across Australia now. And I want to say that for a new party, this is actually quite impressive. Going off of the trajectory of new parties, we have come a long way and we are doing really well. And I know that we're going to continue to grow, and I think other parties are starting to realise this as well. The major parties in the media are starting to take us seriously, and they're realising that we're here to stay. So we formed as a party to get real strong protection on animals, and we're going to make that happen. Now we're hoping to continue our success in the federal election. So as you may know, there are some issues that we simply can't affect at the state level from state governments that we need to have someone elected at the federal level to be able to make a difference on. And the big one that affects animals is, of course, live export. There's nothing we can do about that really from state governments, but from the federal government, if we have someone elected in the federal Senate, that's something that we can really speak out about and try and propose laws to legislation to get a ban on that. The cruel industry has been exposed numerous times, and it's just shown itself to be beyond reproach. So, despite this, it continues to operate. Our goal for the federal election is to get at least one person elected to the Senate in Australia. And upon election to the Senate, our very first act will be to introduce legislation for a ban on live export. We're also deeply concerned about climate change. It's a problem of immense and tremendous scale that affects people and animals already today, but will continue to do so, and even to a greater extent in the future. We'll take immediate action to reduce emissions by rapidly phasing out fossil fuels, transitioning to clean energy, reducing deforestation, and transitioning to sustainable plant-based agriculture. Land clearing is occurring across Australia on a massive scale, and it's displacing and killing many wild animals. And we'll introduce laws to protect wildlife habitats. If anyone is interested in any of these or any of our other campaign issues or policies, you can. Some of them are listed on our How to Vote cards, which I think are on the walls here. But you can find everything on our website, which is animaljusticeparty.org. So for anyone wondering about what change we could realistically achieve with one member elected to a parliament of over 200 people across the upper and lower house of federal government, I want to explain a little concept called the balance of power, which some of you may be familiar with, but some may not. So to become a law, a bill has to get a majority of votes in both the lower and upper house. With one member elected, we obviously would be far from the majority and far from being able to get that bill passed ourselves. But the party in government, which is either Labor or the Coalition, they will almost always have a majority in the lower house, so they'll get their bills voted in there almost for free. In the upper house, though, no one party will have a majority, and so the leading party has to make deals with other small parties in order to get their legislation passed in the upper house. So for example, if they need one more vote in the upper house, they might come to the AJP and seek our vote. And then we could say, okay, but we'll give you our vote on this issue, but what are you going to do for animals in return? So in this way, we could create meaningful change for animals with relatively little direct power. And having 2 people elected would make our bargaining power even stronger. For a small party like us, at the moment we can maybe only hope to get people elected to the upper house for now. It took parties like the Greens years to get anyone elected to the lower house, even after getting people elected to the upper house. So I'm confident that we can continue to grow and eventually look to have a realistic chance of winning lower house seats and continuing to gain even more influence and create more positive change for animals. I hope I've convinced you why getting even one member of the AJP elected to federal government is so important. We can't do it without our supporters though, and that's what I want to talk about now. One of the most effective things I think you can do is to hand out how to vote cards at a polling booth on election day, which is next Saturday, May 18. We know that for a minor party, having someone present at a booth handing out how to vote cards for that party increases our vote by about 50% for that booth. So if we would otherwise expect, say, 100 votes at a polling booth, having a volunteer there, just one person over the day, that might increase our vote by 50 at that polling booth, which makes a huge difference. And elections can often be, they can often come down to that many votes. Other things, the more people we have there, the more people know about the party, the more awareness we raise about important animal environment issues, and even things like the more votes we get, if we get above a certain threshold, we get extra funding for next time. So it's really important that we cover as many booths as possible to talk to voters about why we exist and why we're here and what we're here to do. So we think you'll be available next Saturday. Please talk to someone here tonight to register your interest. We've got, or just put your name and details on the sign-up sheet. Even if you can only spare a few hours, it'll make a huge difference for the lives of animals. We also have some merchandise for sale here tonight. I think we're doing discounted shirts. So see Louise, who is there in the back. Do you want to wave? Yep. If people are able to, please consider making a contribution to the campaign. We're still a small party and rely on individuals to help us do what we do. So any support would be greatly appreciated. So let's show everyone how serious we are, and let's get a win for animals with this election.
So it's lovely to see you all here. AJP supporters are honestly the best people that I know, and I genuinely mean that. So many people are out and about putting up core foods, distributing flyers, doing all they can on social media, and working hard at free polling booths. I just want to say, never underestimate the power of your actions. Just think about where live export would be today if footage of the onboard atrocities wasn't taken by brave Mr. Allah. I certainly wouldn't be standing here before you as an AJP candidate. Because of his actions, I attended a live export rally in June last year. And at the end, I had the choice to walk away or to do something. And I decided to do something, and I became a member of the AJP. So live export is cruel, unnecessary, and it has to stop. This is the election that can finally end this vile trade. Our community links are like a spider's web. Each thread of connection is an opportunity to influence people to care about animals. Every smile, every interaction, every conversation, and every act of compassion counts. I want to harness this power and help make a real difference for animals. This election, we need people on the ground at polling booths to attract votes. Tonight I'm asking you to be a volunteer for animals on election day. I get teary. Because they need us, and together we can be amazing.